Hi, my name is Brian Caffo, and welcome to this week's inaugural episode of Fully Cloudy. On this playlist, I'm just going to be talking about different struggles and victories I've been having in switching over to doing everything in the cloud, particularly data science-y type things. Um, Jeff Leake is another person in the data science lab at Johns Hopkins who's also doing the same thing, and I'm hoping to have him on as a guest at some point. Okay, so if you get a chance, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And then we have this newsletter, Monday Morning Data Science, where we put a lot of these links of content that we've created at the Data Science Lab, and then also interesting things that we found during the week. Okay, so in this week, I'm going to talk about Paperspace. So Paperspace is an example of a way you can get a full desktop experience in the cloud. So there's just a couple of things that are sort of difficult to port over to the cloud. And if you're like me and you're just using a Chromebook, it's just hard to replace a collection of functions. One example is some Adobe products that I have, photo editing, video editing, that sort of thing. I'll have a separate thing where I talk about what I've been doing for video editing. But another is just, someone sends me a Word document that has a lot of, requires the full version of Word or something like that. So I need a full desktop, and it might as well be Windows, because that's going to be where most of my problems of some sort of non-cloud solution. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. One way that I've historically done it is I ran a server in my office, and I would just remote desktop into that server. Now, that's kind of cheating that because that's not really fully cloudy, because I'm running a server out of my office. But you can do that, and it works really well. So if you got an old laptop or if you got an old desktop, put Windows on it, use Chrome Remote Desktop, or Splashtop is another one I tried, or you can even use Windows Remote Desktop. There's a Chrome app for that. And then you can just run it off of there. And if your screen configuration is fine, you won't even notice that your internet connection is good. You won't even notice that you're working remotely. Now, having said that, if you have a screen that has a kind of different geometry than the screen resolution that you run on the desktop, you're going to have to kind of play around with those settings to get it so you don't have a bunch of useless blank space. And it is kind of annoying that kind of auto rescaling doesn't happen automatically. It's also be nice to have the window running in your browser. And it'd also be nice to get rid of the server. Okay, so a couple of ways of doing this, running your server in the cloud. One is Amazon has a bunch of products where you can do this. You can start your own Windows instance on EC2 and then remote desktop to that Windows instance. They actually have like an enterprise solution for if you have say a lot of employees and you want all your business computing to be done in like a client server framework where people are just using dumb terminals. That solution is pretty expensive for an individual user, and it's really scalable and offers all these things that you don't really need. Running it from EC2 is great, but it's a little bit of a hassle. So what I found was this thing called Paperspace. I'm going to show you this here. So Paperspace is basically just like these EC2 solutions. They're just making it really easy for you. So here, for example, you just want to click on build your own computer. It wants you to fill in stuff. Launch console. There we go. Okay, so here's the machine that I've already created. If I wanted to create a new machine, you can create Windows machines, you can create Linux machines. But the whole point of doing this is to create a Windows machine. You pick East Coast, West Coast. And so anyway, here's the pricing. It's for the cheapest one, it's about 7 cents an hour. But then if you need permanent storage, they charge you for the storage. So this 7 cents an hour is charged by the hour. You can just turn off the machine to turn that ticker off. But then $5 a month is permanent as long as you have the machine up and running. That's for 50 gigs, and you can see you can just change that. You can get one machine. You can take snapshots, do all these other things that you would think to do with a a full desktop. Okay, so at any rate, once you create it, I'm not going to create one because I've already created one. So let me go back and see, like this one, you can just launch it. Okay, but I already have it launched in a different tab. So if you just go, this is just what it looks like. They have this additional button over here where you can restart the machine. This has some Paperspace controls in it, and then you have a browser. Kind of a surprisingly a thing that you kind of immediately need is the browser for some reason. And then you can do obviously if you want it full screen, you can just switch it to full screen, and it rescales for you, which is nice. And it also, I've tried it on screens of several different sizes, and it auto rescales nicely regardless of the size. So now probably one thing you're wondering, the first thing you're wondering is, can I start up a browser and then run Paperspace from within Paperspace? So let's try and do that. Okay, here I have Paperspace up. Let's launch the console. There it is. Let's see if I can launch it. So I'm trying to launch my desktop from within my desktop on the cloud. Oh, it says it's connected somewhere else. So it'll close the other connection, then it would just close the connection in this tab. Okay, so they thought of that. They don't want to have people have those kinds of hijinks. At any rate, so there's a couple little annoyances, like when you go down, the Chrome bar pops up when you're trying to hit the Windows bar. But otherwise, it's a completely workable solution for having a desktop when you occasionally need it. Most things I find I can just do online. I can just do straight through the browser. And this is one of these solutions that works pretty well. And it seems like it's fitting my needs so far. So I think I'm going to retire that server that I have in my office. Okay, so give it a try. Let me know how it works for you. But I think this is probably going to be my solution for the time being for when I need desktop things. Okay, so I'll have another tip or another evaluation of something next week on trying to do fully cloudy stuff, data science. All right, so sign up for the YouTube newsletter, and I'll talk to you next week.